It is the job of marketing team to be able to generate leads from acquisition and loyalty campaigns. But how can marketing team generate leads without giving better customer experiences? Hence, customer experience management and brand management has been part of marketing team activities. We are currently in the year 2022 and every major organization out there is trying to implement big data platforms in order to be able to give better customer experiences. What are these big data platforms all about? Is it about technology? Is it about people and processes? Or is it about strategy? I am going to share my point of view on all of this in this video. Hi, this is Aditya. I do videos on latest technology trends and their technical implementations in the field of digital marketing. If you are interested, please subscribe to my channel. Let's get started with the presentation. Let us start by understanding what are big data platforms. So any platform which provides these three V's is called as big data platform. So the first one is volume. So the platform should be able to store volumes and volumes of data. So that is one of the requirement. And the second one is velocity. The platform should be able to ingest the data almost in the real time. So one is the volume of the data it should accept and the velocity at which it should ingest the data into itself. And the third part of it is variety. It should be able to accept variety of the data, meaning it should be able to accept structured data, unstructured data, and also semi-structured data. Structured data like database rows and columns, and unstructured data like images, audio files, and things like that. And semi-structured data like event logs. So having understood what big data platforms are, so let us try to understand now why big data platforms are required in marketing scenario. Without understanding why big data platforms are required, we will not be able to successfully implement big data platforms in the marketing domain. So let us try to understand the current scenario by taking an example. So this is the sample customer journey which marketing team is creating right now. So if a marketing team, let us suppose it has a website and it has also a proper analytics system tagged to that particular website, and we are tracking all the events which are happening on a particular website. Then using the analytics tool like Adobe Analytics or Google Analytics, we'll be able to generate the customer journey maps. Okay, so let us suppose this is one of the sample map, customer journey map, which marketing team has generated. Let us suppose marketing team has created a journey map when the session has started to the event when the conversion happened. The conversion in this case is the anonymous user getting converted to the lead. So marketing job ends when the lead is generated, right? So let us suppose the marketing team is generating a journey map until the anonymous user has first logged in into the website to the point when he has got converted into the lead. Okay, so and this is the way the journey has happened. So some of the people, like let us suppose some 100 people have logged into the page 1, and in those 100 some 80 people have logged into the page 3, and 20 people have logged into the page 7 after page 1. So they navigated to page 3 and page 7, and few other people have logged into the page 2, and from there they have navigated to page 3 and page 8. So similarly, we have scenarios on which page people are logging in, and from that page where are they navigating to before they getting converted to the lead. So once we have these journey maps, it will be easy for the marketing team to analyze what all content a user is reading actually for him to get converted to a lead. So if I know that always the user comes onto the page 1 and he logs into either page 3 or page 7, then I'll make these page 3 and page 7 available on the page 1. I will put those links on the page 1 so that from the organization perspective, I'll be able to push the user from page 1 to page 3 and page 7 consciously. And from the user perspective, I am giving a best user experience to him, because once he logs into the page 1, I know that either he wants to navigate to the page 3 or page 7. Okay, so I'm understanding his need and serving these pages on the page 1 so that he will be able to easily find the content he needs. So it is a win-win scenario here. But all this exercise is leading to bad user experience. Let us understand why by taking an example. Okay, so this is the example of a bad customer experience. Okay, so the customer has logged into the page, he has not navigated to the multiple pages, so he was happy till that point. Then he downloaded a brochure or a product documentation by giving out his details like email ID and phone number. Okay, he has downloaded the brochure, and the next day he receives a sales call forcing him to make a purchase. Because the lead got generated, it goes into the sales system like Salesforce or any other CRM system which we have, and sales team immediately contacts him and asks him to do a purchase. Then he would receive the follow-up calls on the consecutive days, and immediately this person gets frustrated. So where is the gap here? Marketing team has generated the lead, but sales team never knew whether he is ready to make the purchase or not. It could also be that the lead got generated by downloading certain white paper just to get some knowledge, but it was never an intent of that particular lead to make a purchase. So as a result of all this, what happens is there is a mistrust between marketing team and sales team. Marketing team thinks they are able to generate the leads, but sales team is unable to convert them, and sales team thinks marketing team is just generating the leads which are not even qualified to make a purchase. So there is a lack of trust between these two teams, and ultimately there is a bad customer experience, and organizations are losing out customers because of this bad customer experience. So how can this issue be fixed? The issue could be fixed with a scenario like this. Marketing team, instead of having the end point as lead being generated as the conversion, if they had the sales being done as the conversion point, and if the marketing team were able to generate all the journeys and all the paths which a customer has traversed through to make a purchase ultimately, then we would better know like what all information the customer is seeking before he actually makes a purchase. If we see in that perspective, we may end up realizing that the user who is logging to the page 1 and going through the page 3 or page 7 never ends up making any purchase. So based on this knowledge, we could do better lead scoring and accordingly contact the customer at the right time. So this is the example of good customer experience. So user downloads the brochure, then he receives the next best suggested content. Okay, so based on the path, journey paths which we have already knowledge of, we would say like, okay, so when he logs into the page 2, let us suppose, the next best step as we know is to go to the page 8. So what we'll do is we will give him a suggestion related to page 8 using some email campaign or SMS campaign. So he gets that session, then he logs into our website again and he starts going to that page. Since we are tracking all the paths which all these users have traversed, we have already all this knowledge, and we are tracking all the conversations, even sales conversation, right? What price we have given, what offer we have given, all the offer emails, coupons, audio messages, everything, let us suppose we are tracking. So then what we can do is we can see to which customer segment this particular user or this particular lead belongs to, and for that particular segment what is the offer we have given. So if we know that, we can give exactly the same offer so that this particular segment of the customer will get motivated to do a purchase. So in this way we can push the user from being a lead to the actual conversion. So in this way we can push the anonymous user until he makes a purchase. So the idea here is to have a good coordination between the marketing team and sales team, and have a good lead nurturing and scoring mechanism so that we can give a better customer experience, and ultimately customer will be happy making a purchase. So at the end of the day, what we need to do is we need to map all the customer journeys. When the user has logged in first as an anonymous user to the point where he has made the purchase, what is the customer journey that we need to track. And if a customer is frustrated with an organization and he is signing off from the service, or he is not using the product anymore, then in that case also we need to see all the journeys he has gone through and see what is the path the users are following when they are getting frustrated. So be it any case, for that particular case, what is the touch points and what is the journey is going through. If we are able to map this one, then we'll be able to better provide the experience to our particular user, and we'll also be able to understand our users better. But what is the challenge in creating this kind of maps? Let's see that now. Okay, so the main challenge is increased customer touch points. Okay, if we see, there are multiple touch points like purely digital channels like web, mobile, email, SMS, push, social, so many channels. Like for example, web, right? He might log into the web, then he might go into the mobile app and again see some banner ad. We might have sent him some email regarding certain offer, promotion, or a content. Then he might log into the social, and through word of the mouth or social shares he might have got known to a particular offer, and again he logs into the website. So these are multiple ways in which the user can navigate from one way to other way, right? And also there are semi-digital channels like signages, right? Like digital signages are like TV screens which are put out to the display, especially when you go to the retail store, right? These are semi-physical because we have certain on-premise hardware to be installed by the organization itself. So be it a digital signage or IoT devices or even self-service devices like ATMs or any other self-service devices, right? So all these semi-digital channels are also increasing. And we also have the purely physical stores wherein user can go and do some inquiry, right? So these are all the channels and options which the customer has to contact us. So we need to be able to track all these channels and see what exactly the customer is doing, so that we better understand what his actions are and what is the final output of all those actions. Okay, so that has become the challenge. So the other challenge is like these are the multiple channels through which user can contact the organization, and how do we make sure we are present in all the channels? So we need to get the data right. So what is the marketing automation? So we need to get the marketing automation right first. So first thing is we need to have a good CMS. So we should be able to store all the text, images, audio, video to be able to present all these things on different channels. So that is the first thing the marketing team has to put in place. And then we'll also have to maintain the layout and design somewhere. Like if you see, for web the HTML works, for mobile it may not work, and for each channel there might be a different layouts, right? So there should be a mechanism wherein we should be able to maintain all these designs and layouts, and we should be able to reach out to the customers using these channels with some offers or promotions, right? We should be able to reach out to them in the web in real time. When they log in, we should be able to display certain offer to them or promotion to them using email, and all these channels we should be able to contact them. So we need to figure out a technology for that, so that we know what actions users are performing on all these channels. Okay, so as we can see already, it is very hard to expect that all these capabilities are provided by one system. So we'll be using best-in-class packages and technology for each of these activities, right? So, and as we can already see in marketing team itself, there is a lot of data which is being fragmented, and especially if we see the social related data, right? All the comments they are giving, reviews they are giving, product reviews, comments, and all the text related things. And if we take the CRM, right, all the calls which a sales agent is having with the customers, so they are all audio files. So because of all this fragmented data and highly unstructured data, the lead scoring algorithms are not efficient. Though they are existing as part of the CRM systems, they are not efficient enough when we are talking about so much fragmented data and also the unstructured data. So we need to be able to stitch all these things together and then do a better lead scoring so that we can provide a better customer experience. And another challenge is the data being so huge and so fragmented. Where to start and how to proceed step by step to be able to stitch all this information together for us to get a better idea. That is also one of the challenge which we have. Okay, so that's what we are going to see now. Okay, so what is that we are trying to do as part of analytics, right? So we want to get some insights out of this data, and what is the process of doing it? So first thing is we wanted to understand what has already happened. Okay, so our user has some of our users have already converted and they have already made a purchase, and how did they make the purchase? So that we want to analyze first. And then I want to analyze what is currently happening now. Is there any user which is following the same path? If he is following the same path, then I wanted to get alerted. Some trigger should happen, right? So in real time, I should know what is happening currently. And based on that, some events or triggers should happen so that I can take appropriate actions. And based on the actions which are currently happening, I should be able to predict what will happen in future. Maybe he will read a particular content, or maybe he will stop using our service, maybe he is getting frustrated. So these kind of insights or predictions I want to make. So these are the three things which I wanted to do, and for doing this I need a platform which can stitch all my fragmented data together and give me these insights. So to be able to do these particular insights, I need to collect certain data. And what is the data I need in order to be able to draw these kind of insights? So these are the types of data which we can have. The first thing is intent. Every user is connecting to a particular touch point. It might be a website or a mobile app or a physical store with an intent. So first we need to understand that intent. So how can we understand it? It could be using the search words. He might have entered into our website and did some search. Based on the search words, we can understand his intent. Or we might have used certain taxonomy to create a content, maybe for a product specification, or even for content marketing. We must have followed certain taxonomy which would give us an indication about their intent. Or the intent also could be connected through the call center calls or sales calls. Okay, so it is hugely unstructured, and from that unstructured data we need to get an insight as to what is the intent with which a particular user has logged in whenever he has contacted us through any of the channel. So that is the first thing which we need to collect the data about. Then the second data is behavior. This behavior could be like when he has approached with this particular intent, what exactly the actions he has done. He might have read page number 1, 2, 3. Like that we need to collect certain event logs. Okay, he might have done certain reviews, product reviews. He might have used certain social media posts. So all this data, all the touch points with that particular intent, what behavior a particular user has exhibited. So that behavioral data also we should be able to collect. And the third part is the demographic and firmographic. Okay, so if it is a B2C kind of organization, then we need to collect the demographics of a particular customer. And then if we are talking about B2B kind of organization, then we have to collect firmographics and also demographics, because we have the account and contacts, right? So which firm is doing a research or touch point, and in that firm what is the contact point, what is the team which is making this decision to contact us, right? So what is the behavior of that particular contact, that also we should know. And finally we need to be able to track the transactional information, right? Like what products he has purchased and at what offer, what prices, etc. So all these things we should be able to collect. So with these four kinds of data, we'll be able to better get insights as to what our customer is going through. And as we have already seen, This data is highly unstructured, one thing, and also it is fragmented. If we take about behavioral data, right, we may not be able to collect the behavior from all the channels into one analytic system. We might have multiple analytic systems, right? And even if a particular lead is getting generated through a particular channel, how do we pass it on to our CRM systems? Right, there may not be certain integration possible because of the technical limitations which that particular channel has, right? So all this we need to think through, and to solve all these problems we can come up with this particular architecture. So first thing is, here we have all the customer touch points, purely digital, physical, and semi digital channels, and somehow we should be able to track what is happening on all these channels into our marketing systems, be it fragmented or be it one systems, but we should be able to track what is happening on all these systems. And let us suppose there are like 10 systems here in which the leads are getting generated because of so many channels being present, and we have like 10 systems for all the 10 channels which we are seeing here, let us suppose. Then we need to think through as to whether the integration is available between these 10 systems to our CRM system, so that a lead is getting passed on from marketing system to the CRM system or not. Okay, so what is the data flow here? So what happens is the sales team will create a particular campaign in the CRM system, and for that particular campaign, marketing team will create multiple campaigns to reach out to the customer using web, mobile, email, SMS. Maybe for each channel they might be creating one campaign. So how they do it, we never know. Okay, so let us suppose all these channels, for all of these channels, we have like 10 databases in which the leads are getting generated. So then we need to think through on how can we integrate all these 10 systems to our CRM system, so that we can pass this lead information into this particular campaign. So then starts from this lead, the sales team will be able to contact to the customer at the right time. They'll be able to generate the quote, and once the quote is finalized, it gets converted to the order. Customer finally makes the purchase, and then he'll become our customer, and then we'll be providing customer service to him if needed. So all this information has to be transferred into a data lake. So what is a data lake here? So that is a question. So data lake and data warehouse, there is a difference between these two. So the difference is that the data lake can store the unstructured data like the text data and also audio data. It can store semi-structured data like event logs, and also it can store the structured data like the actual transactional data. So all the data, all the types of data a data lake can store. And also data lake works on a principle called schema on read. Okay, so if we take a data warehouse kind of scenario, right, so we need to think through how the tables are being joined, what are the primary keys, foreign keys, and relationships and all that. But in data lake, we can store the data as it comes through. We can just dump the data, and while we want to read the data, then we can think through how to join different tables. So while writing, we can write it and dump it, and then while reading it, we will have to think through how to join. So that is the advantage which a data lake provides, and this kind of architecture is very advantageous, especially for analytics purposes. When it is related to the marketing kind of analytics purposes, it is very useful. So here there is also a data governance and data quality part, which I will explain it a bit later. But this would be a high level architecture flow. But what each and every organization needs to think through is, are we really at a stage to implement this particular architecture in our organizations? So first we need to see what is the step-by-step process which we need to follow in order to get to that particular position, and then decide whether we are at that particular position to implement a data lake or not. Okay, so the first step is digitize all the customer touch points, be it digital, semi-digital, or purely physical. What is the activity which a particular customer is doing at that particular touch point? Are we able to log? Are we able to get the data? Are we able to capture the intent? Are you able to capture the behavioral data? Are we able to capture the demographics and firmographics, especially if it is a B2B scenario? The firmographics, we need to capture it based on the IP address. Did we have all those third-party integrations in place, and are we able to track all those? And the next is transactional data. So are we able to get all those transactional data somewhere? So all these data, are we able to collect them with the right data quality or not? That we need to decide first. And then the second point is, since we are integrating the marketing data with the sales data, we should be able to understand on the beforehand, how are we able to join all these things? Okay, so are we able to create a mapping between the marketing campaign to the sales campaign? Should we follow any naming conventions? So is the understanding of the data from the marketing perspective and the sales perspective is the same, or is there any deviation? So there needs to be certain discussion between the marketing team and sales team to get a holistic picture as to what is the data they are looking about. So that we need to finalize first. Then the second thing is content marketing. Organization needs to invest in the content writing skills and digital asset creation, so that we can generate a good engagement out of it. So if we have the web channels, so we have to invest in the content writing and digital asset creation for web, for mobile, for digital signage, and for all other channels through which we are in contact with the customer. So this will bring up the engagement. Okay, so then the next step is investing in the marketing automation. So marketing automation contains the content management systems. So should we use the headless system so that we are able to use the same content across multiple channels? So that decision has to be made, and these things has to be fine-tuned first. Okay, and we need to have a centralized good asset management system, and we need to have analytics in place, and then the campaign management system in place. So all these things, the marketing automation has to be structured first, so that the data which we are collecting is of good quality. Then we need to go for the data lake architecture, which is a schema on read pattern. Okay, so then we need to do the data governance and quality. So we are pulling in a lot of data together. So we need to consider the privacy policies. Like for example, let us suppose you have got the third party data through some ad agency, and they have given you the customer email ID, and you also have the customer email ID in your database. And if we are able to join this customer email ID with the third party email with the data which you got from the third party, then you may be able to see that particular user what he is doing on other websites also apart from your website. Then you are doing a privacy breach, right? So we need to be able to careful on which columns we can join and which columns we should not be joining. So that comes under the data governance part. And there should be a data quality part also, like all the primary keys on which you are joining, and how do you identify a particular transaction, particular customer. So all those fields, whether they are null, all the data types are properly given or not. So all those quality checks also should happen. So we need a platform to maintain the data quality and data governance, so that should be in place. So then we need to invest in the customer data platforms which can do the identity resolution. So we have all the fragmented data sets in our data lake. So now we should be able to stitch all this together using certain IDs, so that we get a 360-degree view of a customer. So we should be able to create the customer profiles using identity resolution techniques. Okay, so then we need to invest in the data science, AI and ML. So this is also part of the CDP. So this can be used to actually enrich the customer profiles. Like for example, we can see from the transactions which a customer has done, and we can see whether he has a positive sentiment towards our brand or negative sentiments towards our brand. So we can aggregate all the data and then put some features as to into which segment this particular user comes into. So then we need to invest on the offer engine and also message delivery. So these are final action related things which we need to put in place so that this huge personalization engine can run through. So if we have to do all this using Adobe Stack, then Adobe Experience Platform could be a good option. So for marketing automation platform, we can use the AEM, digital asset management, and for design and layout we can use the AEM. For web and email channels we can use AEM for design and layout, and for mobile and other channels we can use AEM as a headless and go for the AEM SPA architecture here. And then for analytics we can use Adobe Analytics, and then for channel delivery we can use the Adobe Campaign Service. And CRM system could be any system. We could also have the commerce system in place if we have any commerce related transactions like online transactions. So the data from all of these platforms could be ingested into the Adobe Experience Platform. So Adobe Experience Platform has a good data ingestion layer. It supports integration not only with the Adobe related products but also with other products also. So all those data can be imported into the Adobe Experience Platform. So we have a data ingestion and data quality layer, so we can ingest the data and also enforce the quality rules on top of it, like to mention this particular field has to be of this particular data type and it should not be null. All those rules can be specified, and all the data will be stored on the data lake. And then we can use the data governance and privacy regulations, we can categorize the data as whether it is the contractual data or some those kind of categories we can create, like contractual identity and other categories. And then on top of those categories we can apply the policies, these categories cannot be used for these particular APIs. Like for example, identity related fields cannot be exposed to the third party APIs. Like that we can put some policies so that these policies will be applied or enforced on all the reports and other things which we are going to create in the further steps. So then we can also use the identity graphs, the profile identity graphs features of the AEP, wherein we actually stitch multiple databases. So for example, when the user has logged into the website as an anonymous user, we will create a unique cookie in order to identify him. And when he gets converted into the lead in the CRM system, a account number will be generated, and that also can be tagged into the analytics system, so that we can have a mapping between the analytics and the account ID in the analytics system. And then when in the data lake we can just join this ID account number with this account number and create a integrated view of what is happening between these two worlds. Okay, so like that, what are those IDs which we can use to link different data sets, so that we can specify here and join all these data sets to get a 360-degree view out of it. Then we can use the data science layer of the AEP to actually enrich all these profiles. We can aggregate the data and put some categorization. All the data scientists can work in this data scientist workspace and create and enrich the profiles. So then after that we can do the customer segmentation based on all this based on this enriched profile. We could do the customer segmentation, and based on this customer segmentation we could do the journey orchestration. So one example of the journey orchestration could be, if a new lead has been generated, what is the first email which we need to send to him, and based on his actions, what are the other emails which we need to send. So different paths we can define here as part of the journey orchestration, and we will be able to do all this based on the customer journey maps which Adobe Experience Platform is going to create for us, based on all this joining of all these profiles which it is doing. And we already got a 360-degree view of the customer. So based on that we can see the journey maps, and based on those journey maps we can do the journey orchestration. It could be based on a certain step. We might have to send either a relevant content or relevant offer, and that message delivery to multiple platforms like email, SMS, push notification, all that also can be handled by Adobe Experience Platform because it is well integrated with Adobe Campaign and even other systems. So like this, Adobe Experience Platform can be used to build a better experiences, but for that we need to have all these prerequisites which we have discussed here. So as a conclusion, one thing I would like to say is the implementation of big data platforms can only be successful when people are working together. So it is also people. It is the marketing team and the sales team which has to work together to make this happen. So there must be a certain amount of the transparency, and every team should be willing to work towards a common goal. So it's about people, and it's also about the technology, because what is the marketing automation platforms we are using, and what is the customer data platforms which we are using to be able to pull all this data, stitch all this data, and give better customer experiences. So it is about the technology, and it is also about the strategy, because what is the data we should collect and what is our end goal, and how are we stitching all this data, and how do we use the data science layer to get a good insights, and all that needs a particular strategy. So all these three things should be in place for a big data implementation to be successful. That's what I wanted to cover for today. Thank you.